This is UNICEF report about child marriage in Serbia. The report was published in 2016. I knew there were child marriages in Serbia even before I saw this report, though I had wrong impression about the numbers. I thought there were more child marriages among general population and less child marriages among Roma population in Serbia. But the most surprising was number of abortions mentioned in the report. Let's start from the beginning. What is child marriage according to UNICEF definition? Under the Convention of the Rights of the Child, a person under the age of 18 is considered a child unless majority is attained earlier under the law applicable to the child. Committees from both the CRC and the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against Women consider that the minimum age for marriage for both men and women must be 18 and require from state to eliminate exceptions related to the minimum age for marriage regardless of parents' consent. What is the law in Serbia? The minimum age for marriage in Serbia is related to obtaining full legal capacity and is set at 18 years of age. Thus, a minor age is a marriage impediment, meaning that a person cannot marry before turning 18. In addition, the criminal code prohibits common law marriage with a minor. However, there is an exception. It is prescribed that the court may, for justified reasons, permit a minor who has reached 16 years of age and who has reached the physical and mental maturity necessary to perform the rights and duties of marriage to conclude a marriage. What are justified reasons for 16 years old to marry? In most cases, we are talking about teen pregnancy. Many families in Serbia believe that a child should be born within the marriage. The court gives permission if the parents are supporting the marriage. However, the age of consent in Serbia is 14. Sleeping with teens is allowed, but marriage and cohabiting are not. Doesn't have much sense, but the laws are often far from perfect. What are the numbers of child marriages for general population and Roma population? Why is Roma population main focus of the report? UNICEF concluded that child marriages in Serbia are rare among general population, but they are very common for Roma population in Serbia. The similar research was done for Bosnia, Montenegro, North Macedonia and Serbian province Kosovo. General population married before 15. Bosnia 0.4%, Montenegro 0.5%, Serbia 0.8%, Kosovo 0.8%, and North Macedonia 1.4%. I wasn't surprised by these numbers because in the Balkans it is socially unacceptable to marry before 15. But I wrongly assumed that numbers for 15 to 18 years old would be much higher than they are. Girls in rural Balkan areas usually married as teens. Apparently, this custom was abandoned, which is good. General population married before 18. Montenegro 6.2%, Serbia 6.8%, Bosnia 9.5%, Kosovo 10%, and North Macedonia 10.7%. I expected the numbers to be 30 to 35%. The prevalence of child marriage is much higher in Roma population than in the general population. I knew it would be higher, but I didn't expect such a drastic difference. Married before 15 among Roma population in the Balkans. Kosovo 11.6%, North Macedonia 11.9%, Bosnia 14.6%, Serbia 16.9%, and Montenegro 18.2%. Numbers for 15 to 18 are even worse. Kosovo 42.7%, North Macedonia 47%, Bosnia 48.3%, Montenegro 56.4%, and Serbia 57%. I have to point out that we don't have numbers for older generations to compare. The report focused on the females under 49 years of age. We have no idea how many women in their 50s, 60s, 70s were married before they were 18. UNICEF should have included them too, so that we could see if the numbers are rising or dropping for Roma population. What makes Roma different from the general population? In the past, most Roma children didn't go to school. Even when they did go, they would drop out before graduating. Virginity is highly valued in Roma society. Many Roma parents believed that their daughters would lose their virginity if left unmarried. They have to marry as soon as possible. Why is UNICEF report using the age 15 as standard? Doctors say that girls younger than 15 are still physically children. Girls younger than 15 tend to have difficult pregnancies, miscarry, or even die during childbirth. Girls 15 to 18 have less complications and better survival rates during childbirth. What are the consequences of the child marriages? Child marriages create new problems. Girls are often abused by their husbands and in-laws. Girls have no way out of the marriage. They often come from poor families that cannot take them back. Girls who marry young tend to have large families, which usually means more poverty. Since child marriages are forbidden, those unions are not registered. It is also likely they will not register the birth of the child from such marriage. Kids without birth certificates are vulnerable to human traffickers. Serbia is working on issuing birth certificates and ID cards for all Serbian Roma. But in some cases, Roma families prefer to be without papers. Due to harsh living conditions, many Roma die in their 40s and 50s. Serbia needs to help Roma population to better integrate into general population. First step should be keeping Roma kids in schools. Elementary school education is mandatory for all citizens, but no one would react if Roma child drop out. Serbian motto is "Your child is your problem." Education is strongly associated with the prevalence of child marriages. Due to the belief that their daughters need to prepare for marital life and motherhood, Roma parents often withdraw them from school while they are still very young, 12 to 14 years old. Furthermore, Roma girls face additional discrimination in relation to education, since adequate measures for Roma educational inclusion and prevention of school dropout need to be created and/or implemented. Only half of Roma children enrolled in primary school transit to secondary school, and the gender disparity is notable. While 72% of Roma boys transit to secondary school, this applies to only 40% of girls from Roma settlements. The situation is even worse in secondary education. There is a trend of lower attainment of a secondary school education, especially among poor children and Roma. The net attendance ratio is the least favorable for girls in Roma settlements and boys in the poorest wealth index quintile. Only 1/5 of Roma children of appropriate age attend secondary school, and only 4.7% from the poorest wealth quintile do so. Moreover, the lack of role models for educated girls in the family or in the community can also be defined as an obstacle, combined with the lower educational status of their parents, which may influence their motivation for decisions regarding educating girls. Another problem is contraception or the lack of it. According to available data, the fertility rate for women aged 15 to 19 is 22 per 1,000 women in the general population and as high as 157 in Roma settlements. Childbearing before 15 occurs in 0.3% of the general population and 5.1% in the Roma settlements, while the percentage is much higher for childbearing before 18, 4% in the general population and 38.1% in Roma settlements. Now we come to the number of abortions. I wrongly believed that Roma women don't have abortions. And I thought that abortions are more common among general population. The prevalence of induced abortions is much higher among women from Roma settlements than among women from the general population. Among young women 18 to 24 years in the general population, the prevalence of abortion is 1%, reaching as high as 30% in the oldest category of women 41 to 49 years, while the prevalence rate in the youngest group 18 to 24 years from Roma settlements is 11%, and in the oldest group 41 to 49 years, more than half the women had at least one induced abortion during their life course. If these numbers are true, then it's great for general population, much fewer abortions than I expected. But terrible for Roma population, many more abortions than I expected. Side note, as Christian, I accept abortions only if the mother's life is in danger or if the pregnancy is a result of the sexual assault. On the other hand, I am for using contraceptives. Using contraceptives is much less sin than abortion. The ironic situation is that Serbia has shortage of children. So the state has no reason to offer free contraceptives to the poor. There is another detail that could influence the percentages, and report ignored it. Some Roma live in settlements like shanty towns, and they are more likely to declare as Roma. But many Roma live mixed with general population, and they tend to conceal their Roma origin. Roma suffer discrimination in Serbia, so they are likely to register as non-Roma to avoid the abuse. Now, we come to a very speculative area. How many Roma are there in Serbia? According to 2022 census, Roma are the fourth biggest ethnic group in Serbia. There are almost 132,000 registered Roma, or 1.98% of total population. Some estimations claim that as far as 500,000 Serbian citizens are in fact Roma. If this number is correct, then the percentage of child marriages among Roma is much lower than 57%. What do I think? Child marriages are a global problem that needs to be eradicated. Roma girls deserve better life than they are given. Serbia should do more to protect Roma children. Has there been any arrests? Yes, report gives us details and they illustrate the situation perfectly. In 2014, 108 persons were reported for the criminal offense of common law marriage with a minor. 77 of them were convicted, but of these, in 56 cases, there was a suspended sentence. 13 persons received prison sentences, 5 were sentenced to a fine, 1 ordered to do community service, and 2 received warnings. These statistics clearly portray the lenient treatment this criminal offense receives in the criminal justice system. Personally, I am disgusted by this data. You marry a child and you get a warning, community service, paying fine. Only 13 out of 108 were sentenced to prison. This is a huge failure for Serbia. The situation is infuriating. One Serb singer gave an interview and talked about singing at Roma weddings. She mentioned that one bride was 12. The Serb singer saw nothing wrong in singing at such wedding. She didn't even think about calling the police and reporting the crime. A decade or more ago, newspapers wrote about the youngest mothers in Serbia. One Roma girl was 12 and had to be hospitalized due to problems with her pregnancy. She was visited by her 19-year-old husband and her mother. After she gave birth, the girl and the baby were returned to the family without any charges being brought. When questioned, the officials said they could do nothing about it because the family agreed to the marriage. This infuriated me. The 12-year-old should have been taken by the state and saved from further abuse. Serbia failed this girl and many more. Usual excuse is that child marriage is Roma tradition. Somehow, traditions are above the laws. Serbia has great laws, but they need to be implemented, and that's where everything collapses.